I'm currently on the hunt for my third property. Now, whether this would be a standalone rental property or my primary residence, which would then become a rental property in the future eventually, that is yet to be determined, but I'm looking for a property nonetheless. And in this incredibly hot market, pretty much throughout the entire nation, it is very hard to find great deals. I'm looking in two markets right now. One of those is my home city of Chicago, and the other is Indianapolis, where I currently own a single-family rental. And in this video, I want to talk about my process for trying to get another deal, especially in this crazy market. But before I get into that, I just want to introduce myself for anyone who is new to the channel. My name is Jack Duffley, and I'm a 24-year-old real estate investor and attorney. And on this channel, I cover a variety of topics as they relate to investing and personal finance. So if you like that sort of content, be sure to have a look around the channel. And if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. But anyways, in this market where supply has been so constrained, it is very easy to get frustrated if you're trying to look for a good deal. If you're looking for bad deals, they are all over the place. And by bad deals, I really mean overpriced deals. There are a lot of properties that are going for a lot more than they would have just a short while ago, and rent yields in many markets are compressing in a big way to where the rent that you're actually getting on these properties is not really justifying the price. So there's a lot of different factors that are playing into that, and I'm not going to get into too much of that today. You got interest rates, you have all the supply issues on the building side with lumber prices, and plenty of other issues on the local level as well. But the fact of the matter is, in most markets, real estate is continuing to get more and more expensive, and we already had the interest rate cuts of 2020, which helped drive prices even higher. And sure, maybe the payment would be about the same as it was before, but the actual down payment might be much higher now because the actual price of the building is higher. Whatever the case, real estate's getting expensive and more expensive as time goes on right now. And that's no different in the markets that I'm looking in Chicago and Indianapolis. Sure, they have different factors that affect either market, but both are seeing a very similar trend. Things are getting more expensive. Rent isn't necessarily increasing to justify those prices from an investment perspective, and investors and home buyers alike are having to fork over premiums for properties that might have been much cheaper just a few months ago. Now, you might be wondering why I'm looking at two markets at the same time. Well, I have two separate goals. One is to do something like a house hack or take advantage of owner-occupied financing. And because I live in Chicago, my job is in Chicago, my wife is in Chicago for school as well. So we are very tied to Chicago at the moment. So I'd want to get a property using owner-occupied financing there if I can. So that could turn a so-so or not so great deal into a very good one because interest rate terms are so good and get such great financing on the owner-occupant side. And the best part is, after we move out of that particular property, we can keep it and keep those great financing terms and turn it into a nice rental. But as for Indianapolis, we don't really have any desire to move there or much of a reason to, so that would be to buy a standalone rental, and financing terms are going to be a lot worse there. Maybe not a lot worse, but definitely significantly worse. A couple interest points and a couple points of fees perhaps at the front as well, because we'd be buying it in an LLC, not in our name. So that's going to bring much worse financing terms, but it would be a standalone rental. We don't have to move in it, and that would be part of our rental business. And even though the financing costs would be relatively higher with an Indianapolis deal, the actual price to acquire the property in Indianapolis would be generally lower than compared to Chicago, since Chicago is a much more expensive market, broadly speaking, and Indianapolis is a lot cheaper, and the rent yields in most parts of Indianapolis are quite a bit higher than Chicago's as well. But again, you can go neighborhood to neighborhood and find exceptions. And Indianapolis deals are going off the market very quickly, even within a matter of a day or two, because people are starved for yield. Indianapolis is heralded as a higher yield market, as with many Midwestern markets, maybe besides Chicago, and deals are often going way over their asking prices. I recently made an offer on a property that was listed for $125,000. I actually made an offer for $135,000, so $10,000 over asking price, which was about 10% of the actual purchase price, and I still was beat out by someone who went all cash. I wasn't doing all cash at that offer, which was a big handicap for sure. So I thought being over asking price by a good bit would help me out there, but clearly someone else had a similar idea, only they were all cash, so I was beat out pretty easily, and I think there were quite a few offers I was up against. And I wouldn't be surprised if the cash offer was into the 140s, and this was on a duplex in Indianapolis. Now, what about Chicago? It's definitely not as hot as Indianapolis right now, but then again, it is a much bigger market, relatively speaking. Indianapolis, sure, it's had a lot of investment money flowing in, and many parts of Chicago do not see nearly the same amount of inflows from out-of-state investors. However, there are plenty of areas within Chicago that have remained very hot, and in some cases, deals are going very quickly, though often it is a bit slower paced compared to Indianapolis. For Chicago, I'm looking mostly at condos right now. There are different risks with condos, but I already own one in Chicago and I do understand those risks, at least I think I do. So that's what I'm looking at there. And generally the rent yields are a little bit better than something like a single family home, at least in the areas that I'm looking at, which is mainly on the north side. I would normally prefer something like a multifamily deal, but things are just very expensive there and there's just very little supply to even make an offer on, at least when we're talking about public listings. I don't have a broad swath of off-market listings to tap into or anything like that. So I'm making offers on MLS listed properties, so ones that anyone can make an offer on, and things are just very expensive there. Even ones that have been sitting on the market for quite some time, it's very hard to actually get them down to a reasonable price, at least a price that I would find reasonable, since beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Which brings me to the strategy that I've really started to use in earnest this week and will continue to until I find a deal or two, and that is to continuously make offers, even if they're well below asking price, since the worst that could happen, especially in a hot market, is they'll just say no. We don't want your offer, it's too low, this is a hot market, there's plenty of other buyers, and we'll get the price that we want eventually. That's the worst that could happen. Instead, I'm taking the approach where I'm just going to keep making offers. If I get no's, oh well, but in some cases, the person that might have said no at the beginning might come back a month later after a deal falls through, and you'll be next in line because there really weren't that many offers on it. They just got the one full price offer that happened to fall through, and now you're next in line, you've shown interest before, and you potentially have the next bite at the apple. That's actually how I got the condo I'm in now. This was a couple years ago, but I got beat out on the first time. Someone offered more money than I did. They got the deal. However, their financing fell through, and my financing was in really good shape because I had great credit and I had a good lender on my side. So I ended up being next in line. They reached out, and even though I was a lower price than the initial offer they got, they still went with me. We eventually closed, and I got a good deal. And you're never going to get deals if you never make offers. That's why this week I've made much more of an effort to try and make one offer every day, if not every other day. And even if that's well below asking price, because again, the worst that I get is no. They don't want to use my offer and they use someone else's, and that's it. No harm to me. Now, being a real estate agent in Illinois, I'm actually writing my own offers. So I have kind of a system where I have pre-populated contracts. I will fill out things as the details change for each deal, and I'll send it off. So I can do it pretty quickly, and I'm not using another agent. And that way, if we do end up getting a deal, I actually get a commission on the back end, which will be a nice sort of discount on the property, or I could use that as sort of negotiating leverage as well. I don't have that same ability in Indianapolis, of course, since I'm not an agent there, so I have to rely on a real estate agent on the ground there. But my thinking is, first off, this will force me to keep a very close eye on the market, since I'm constantly making offers, looking at values very closely, trying to look at rent yields, get a good feel for the rental market, since there have been some changes, especially in downtown Chicago over the last year. The rental market has been a little shaky compared to previous years. But I'm also seeing stuff as it comes online, so if there's something that does happen to be underpriced relative to what I'm looking for, then that's great. I can jump right on it since I'm paying attention at all times. I've got offers out there, and it's offers that I could live with, at least theoretically, as long as the deal is what it actually looks like on paper, since you do get the inspection period, of course, which I would be utilizing with any deal. And as you should, use your due diligence period in real estate. It's very important. You want to make sure that you're getting what you think you're getting. But anyways, I have all those deals out there, and they're at prices that seem like they'd be a good deal, one that I could be comfortable with, so that if it does fall under contract, I could get a little excited about it. And if it turns out that the property is a lot worse than I thought it was during the inspection period, I could just back out. But that's the goal, to make an offer every single day, whether that be in Chicago or Indianapolis. I just want to make sure I'm continually trying to get a property and putting something onto the table. Even if it's a very low ball offer or relatively low compared to everyone else's offers, maybe that's a full price offer, I want to put something on the table that gives me some shot at getting the deal, because putting nothing means I have no shot. At some point in the future, I might rely on more off-market strategies like direct mailing to try and actually get deals off-market, off the MLS, where you might have a sort of first look before the whole rest of the market gets at it. But for now, I'm just using MLS listings, and if that doesn't bear any fruit over the next couple months, maybe I'll change my strategy, or I'll reevaluate my progress and see what I could change. But there's been a few properties in Chicago, at least already, that have been pretty close to my target price. They've been listed for a price that's close to what I'm offering, so I think I got a shot there for some of these that have been listed for quite a while, and I'm pretty close to their asking price, so we'll see what happens there. In any event, I'll keep you updated on what happens next. But that's all I've got for today, so if you like this video, please like it, since that would help the channel out a lot, and I definitely want to hear what you guys are doing in this hot market. Are you making offers right now? Where are you located? Where are you making offers? Or are you just sitting on the sidelines doing something else? Maybe you haven't gotten a deal yet and you're just learning. I definitely want to hear where you guys are at in the process. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, since I put out new videos every single week as they have to do with personal finance and investing, a lot of real estate content as well. So again, be sure to subscribe. But until next time, take care.